In today's weekly forecast, we're going to talk about the Euro USD, the Pound USD, the dollar versus the Canadian dollar, and also Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, if you guys do enjoy this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon to get notifications because I am releasing these videos every Saturday in addition to videos every weekday. Now, one last thing, none of the content in this video or any video is financial advice because it is just my opinion. All right, so let's start out with the Euro USD, which really is just kind of range bound here between this multi-decade support that extends off of the early 2000 lows and also that 2008 trend line up here around 110.80. So we've talked about both of these before in recent weeks, and so far the market really hasn't made up its mind. It hasn't closed either above this area up here or below support. Okay, so looking at a bigger picture view, if we move out here toward the monthly time frame, you can see what I'm talking about here. So this channel extends all the way off of the early 2000 lows. All right, so it has directed the price action here for the Euro USD really over the past 20 years. So it's going to take a close below this support level down here to really trigger a move lower into potentially 106.50 or 103.50. And at the same time, it's going to take a close back above this 2008 trend line. So looking at the weekly time frame, you can see where the market recently closed back below this trend line. All right, so off of the 2008 high up here, if we move into the daily time frame, all right, you can see where it found support at this level here on this low right here, and then also here recently before the breakdown. Now this breakdown occurred earlier this month, and the market has not been able to recover it. Okay, so obviously previous support becomes new resistance, and that's exactly what we've seen. All right, so support back here, again here right before the breakdown, the market closed below it, and now 110.80 is resistance. So it's going to take a daily close at minimum above this area up here, right around 110.80, to really send this market higher, potentially up here toward this trend line. All right, maybe right around, let's say 112.50, maybe 112.70. This area up here, followed by potentially 114.80. Now, to the downside, as I said, a close below this area, right down here around 108.70 or so. A close below this would open up 106.50 and potentially the 103.50, maybe 103.40 area. But all in all, for the Euro USD right now, very choppy. I have no interest in trading it right now just because I do not want to get chopped up in this sideways price action. So let's take a look at the Pound USD, which is kind of in a similar situation to the Euro USD. It was looking really promising on this candle right here. So we talked about this closed back above 132. All right, so 132 was support back here, and you can see where it served as resistance once the pound closed below it. Now the market did reclaim this level, all right, on this candle, but then we had an immediate retest of 132 as new support. Now, for those of you who have followed me for a while now, you know that I do not like immediate retests like this. So when you get a breakout on this candle and an immediate retest right here, all right, that's problematic because it shows that there is a lot of selling pressure here. The opposite of this would be a rounded retest where the market takes its time, comes down here into support to show a lack of selling pressure as the market comes into support, in this case 132. So as of right now, if we look at the weekly time frame, here's kind of the issue for the pound. So the daily last week appeared to have reclaimed the level. However, looking at the weekly chart, all right, obviously the market's still moving within this descending channel here. And right now the market is technically, at least it looks like it, closing below this 132 level. So it has not reclaimed this level as new support on the weekly time frame. So that means that 132 stays intact as resistance, at least for now. Okay, so if you are looking to trade the pound, in my opinion, not financial advice, of course, but I just don't see any kind of real setup here for the pound right now, just because it is so choppy right around this area. It's probably going to take the first couple of sessions this week to really define a trend here. Are we going to see a move, back below 132 definitively, maybe back toward these lows here or this area down here? But ultimately, guys, it's just really, really choppy here for the market as it hangs around that 132 level. So not a lot to do here for the pound as of right now. All right, so next up is the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And this one is a lot more interesting than the previous two we just looked at because we've talked about this trend line here off of the May lows. Okay, so the market was holding above this level here for several months because this goes all the way back here to May of last year. Now, I talked a couple weeks ago about a potential breakdown here. I was looking for a break lower here as opposed to a break higher. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that if you look on the weekly time frame, Okay, the market had previously formed a bearish engulfing week, and I made a video about this as well, where even though this was in congestion, and a lot of times when you get a signal like this in congestion, it's not nearly as convincing as something where you get, a pattern like this in a trending market. So even though this is within congestion, the market did form this weekly bearish engulfing candle. Okay, so it engulfed the real body of this candle right here. So this was technically a bearish engulfing candle, and sure enough, we got the move lower last week. Now, there was a setup here if you look. Okay, this is the exact trend line. You can see where the market barely closed below it right here, and then it retested it as new support on the very next candle. Now, it was a very marginal breakdown, but anybody who took that trade is up about 93 pips or so at the moment as of Friday's close. However, the dollar versus the Canadian dollar is coming into some support down here right around 124.50. So this area down here is going to be key support for the market. So don't be surprised if we do see a bounce from this area early this week. Now, as for resistance, there really isn't a whole lot until this low back here, which could coincide with this trend line off the May low. So could we see a bearish retest here for the dollar versus the Canadian dollar? It's very likely because, again, there isn't really much resistance here until this area right up around 126. Okay, so alternatively, a daily close below 1245, okay, 124.50. This area down here, a daily close below this would open up this area right around 123. All right, so that would be the next support if we do see that daily close below 124.50. But as of right now, this is going to be support for the week ahead. All right, so now let's talk about Bitcoin, which is really interesting at the moment for several reasons, and we'll get into all of that right now. So looking here at the daily time frame, first of all, the $46,000 region, so 45 to 46, this is going to be the key area for Bitcoin to get back above. All right, so this is going to be critical resistance. You can see where Friday tested it, but was not able to get above it. And that's no surprise. I'd never expected the market to break out from this area on the first attempt, at least the first attempt this time. So right now, the market is still below that resistance area. It's going to take a daily close above 46,000, specifically 46,200, because that is the yearly open for Bitcoin. So if it can close above this area, then the next resistance area for the market is going to be anywhere from 42 all the way up, 52 all the way up to 53. Okay, so this area through here is going to be next if the market can get above that $46,000 area. Okay, and that's on a daily closing basis. Remember, it needs to close above it on the daily and preferably on the weekly as well, because this area is so significant that I really think it's going to take a weekly close above it to really confirm the breakout. Now, in the short term, if we look at the hourly time frame, all right, there are a couple of things that I'm watching right now. And the first one is going to be this area of support right down here around 43,200 all the way up to 43,400. So this is going to be a confluence of support over the next 24 hours, where if we were to see the pound sell off on Sunday, which is kind of a pattern over the past few weeks, then you're going to want to keep an eye on the area just above 43,000, and below that is going to be 42,400. So you can see on the daily time frame how this area down here at 42.4 has served as resistance back here, resistance again, and the market broke out. All right, so basically 43,200 followed by 42,400. Those are going to be the two support areas. Now, you probably noticed too that on the hourly time frame, there is a potential head and shoulders pattern that's formed here after the market tested this $45,000 resistance area. So it's not confirmed yet, but there is a potential head and shoulders pattern on the hourly time frame that's set up here. Now the market, Bitcoin would have to close below this area down here, all right, at the moment, right around 44,200 to confirm that pattern. And if it did, it just so happens that the objective here, all right, for this would come in right around that support area we just talked about. So if I take the height of this pattern, measure down to a potential breakout area on the chart, you can see it lines up right here around 43,200, which again is a confluence of support here for Bitcoin. Okay, so that's going to be an area to watch, especially if the market does break below this level right here. Okay, so could have even a short setup on our hands here over the next 24 hours if this does confirm. But I would be very careful with that just because, right now the market is in an uptrend despite being below that $45,000 resistance area. And lastly, let's take a look at Ethereum, which is in a similar situation to Bitcoin. Although you guys will remember that we played this breakout, or at least I did, I was buying this through 2600. I mentioned this to members, also on this close above this trend line off of the November high. So that trade worked out very nicely. Even the close above $3,000 here recently last week. So we got the close above this area that had served as resistance. So it's no surprise that that's the support area that I'm keeping an eye on for this week. Okay, so if we see Ethereum sell off on Sunday into Monday, same with Bitcoin, then this is the area I'm going to watch for Ethereum, right around that $3,000 area. I do not want to see Ethereum close below 29.76. That's the March 1st closing price back here. So any close down here, any daily close down here could be problematic for the market. So I want to see that level right at 29.76 hold up on a daily closing basis. And as for resistance, you can see that this area right between 3,200 and 3,250 is going to be resistance for Ethereum. That's the location of these two swing highs back here. All right, so very, very clean at the moment. 3,200 to 3,250, it's going to take a close above that, but just keep an eye on 3,400 as well. So this high back here, as well as 3,600. Okay, so those are the resistance areas I'm keeping an eye on if the market can keep this uptrend intact. Now, as for a short-term play here, as always, not financial advice, but I think if Ethereum were to lose this trend line right here, which it is very close to doing, you can see off of these closing prices back here on the 4-hour time frame, we have this low down here, we have these lows through here, and then also this most recent one. So the market right now is testing support on the 4-hour time frame. You can see how this 4-hour candle, the wick right here, tested that trend line. So if we see Ethereum close down here, let's say below 3,100, then I do think that could open up these lows back here and potentially that area right around $3,000 over the next 24 hours. All right, so that's everything I'm watching right now. I'm still in my long position here, although I did shave about half of that position off last week for a considerable profit, about 20%. So still in it for now, but I'm being careful just because the market has come into some significant resistance. All right, guys, so I hope the video helped you. If it did, be sure to smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for notifications. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend, and I will talk to you again on Monday.